It was another one of those days where I do a first 20 stream. That's the intro music I'm working on. I don't know how you feel about it.
Maybe work on it a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
It's still not good?
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Tuesday. So breakfast stream this morning went well. It was quite fun. There was a lot of folks that we knew that were there.
Yeah.
Chaz was there. Jeff was there.
Thomas
was there.
Mm-hmm.
Haley was there.
Yeah, for a little bit, yeah.
For a little bit. And then Carlos was there. Carlos stops in quite a bit, which is really nice. And then Jules was there. And briefly, Adri was there. Mm-hmm. Although I don't know if it was for the best reasons. Jules had said a few things about Adri. And then Adri showed up, and it was like, oh, it was funny. It was fun. And we also talked about s'mores Pop-Tarts for way too long. But I'd never had one until today, and they're quite good. Not to turn this into breakfast stream, but before I get into this, s'mores Pop-Tarts, I've never had one. The crust of them are graham crackers. Huh. That's just so cool. The crust of all the other ones are the same thing, and they're all kind of boring. Why don't they make them all graham crackers?
The ones are fudge, and the chocolate ones are chocolate.
It was just really wild. I was like, oh, this is what this is about. I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but my mom, when she came over the other day and she brought us those brownies, which we've still been eating on and are delicious, she brought us this box of s'mores Pop-Tarts, and I was like, I've never had these. And I'm going to be honest with you, I really didn't expect to like them because I'm not a huge fan of marshmallow cream. I like s'mores, but I'm not a huge fan of marshmallow cream. And I had one this morning. I was like, oh my God, this is much better than I was expecting. Anyway, that's not what this vlog is about. This vlog is about First 20 stream, because I did a stream today. I played 5 games, and to try and tie in to the other vlogs of this nature that I've done, because I've been doing these streams every month, and then I've been doing a vlog day in the same style for the past few months as well. This is 5 games I played in May 2020. In case we want to throw the year on the end there. First game, Starstruck Prologue. The full title is technically Starstruck Hands of Time. The game won't be out until next year, and the devs decided to release the first 2 hours or so on Steam as Starstruck Prologue. It's basically a demo, but they're not marketing it as a demo. And actually, I requested a dev key like a while ago, and I got a dev key from a PR company. I was like, okay, cool. And then I found out like yesterday that the game is just free. Like you can just play the prologue for free. So I didn't even need a dev key. But whatever, I still got one. I was interested. This is one I had requested because I had been so interested in it. The game had really like a few different eclectic collections of scenery. You had parts of it that looked like, honestly, like a 3-dimensional Earthbound, which with a really unique art style. There were parts inside of the homes that looked like cardboard, and the characters are all like claymation. They're made out of clay, so it's just a really, really cool aesthetic. And then there was another part, and this is all just PR material I had seen, of like this wacky part where you're walking around as a giant hand and you're destroying things, and it felt very Katamari to me. And then there's another part that's like rhythm game. So you've got all of these wacky things coming together, and that's why I requested the key. And whenever I got to play it today, it really exceeded my expectations, because the parts that feel like Earthbound are really well seated in their humor. Like the writing that they're going for is very much like on track, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't waver. Like it knows what it wants to be. It knows what type of humor it's striving for, and it hits that mark. It was really well done. And then also just visually, the game is gorgeous, and it did give me that vibe of like what a 3-dimensional Earthbound might look like. The parts of the hand were it was short, but it was fun. And there's this overarching story about how everything that's happening on Earth on the set is not even like what's actually happening. You're playing as an astronaut that's up in space watching all of this, who's come from the future to try and like fix things. It's really fascinating, and it's written in a very lighthearted way, and it was just really well done. Really well done. And major props, because at one point when you start the rhythm game, it asks you if you want to connect a Guitar Hero controller. And I'm like, what game in 2020 will stop you in the midst of all the other stuff it's doing and say, hey, do you got a guitar controller you want to connect? That's just, I love that. I really, really love that. So it's a shame that we still got another year or so on the game. But if you're interested in trying out Starstruck, again, the Prologue's free, so you really have nothing to lose. Might as well try it out. But it was really good. It's real good. Then we went into another game called Niche, a survival genetics game. I think it's the subtitle of that. And I had gone into it with the mindset that it was going to be like Spore. And it was sort of, but it was much more strategic than that. Like everything is laid out on a hex grid, and there is so much stuff to keep track of. Like on the base level, you've got like action points for your animals, and they have food supply. So you are spending your action points to move around the islands and forage for food and things like that. And then like you'll find a mate, and then you can have babies. And then of course, you have to make sure you have enough food every day for your entire family to eat. But that's like surface level. As soon as you get under the hood, there's all of this stuff about like the individual genes and the mutations, and it gets so intricate. Like it's one of those games, and we play them probably every month or so. There's always a game that's like, it's for a very specific audience. But if you're that audience, it is your game. And it was really neat. I struggled a little bit because I wasn't paying super close attention to the amount of food I needed. But it was still fun. And anyone who's super interested in like the very intricately detailed stat stuff and, finding people in your little, I think they called it a tribe, like all of the animals that live in your group are a tribe, and you're trying to keep them alive. And they can only live a certain amount of days because they just die of old age. So you have to continually reproduce. And when you're doing that, you can, selectively breed the ones that have certain traits to get better traits. So it's really neat. It's really fascinating. You could spend a lot of time on it, or you could, let all of the animals die by not feeding them. It's a good first one. I think you folks will enjoy it. Anyway, the next game was Swords of Ditto, Mos Curse. I think that was the name of the game. It's Swords of Ditto, but I can't remember the subtitle. I think it was Mos Curse. And that was a game I wanted to play solely based on the art direction. It honestly looks like an animated show that you'd watch on Cartoon Network. Like the art direction is just very beautiful, very striking. Haven't really seen anything like that in games before. And I was pleasantly surprised when I started playing it that there's a lot of little intricate animations to it as well. And this is carried throughout the entire game. Like you go into shops and you're looking at items, and like the inside of the shops are really gorgeous, and the item lists are really gorgeous. But it is a roguelite action RPG. And the premise is basically like every 100 years, this witch demon rises up, and you have to try and kill her. And I didn't play long enough to fully grasp exactly what happens, but from what I understand, the map is randomly generated, but there is always certain elements, like the castle of this witch demon is always there. And there's like a town that's always there. But then I think a lot of the other stuff gets randomized. So if you die, you like come back and like things are changed up. I think I got that right. But what's cool is that like when you start the game, you can go fight the final boss if you want. Will you die? I mean, probably pretty much assuredly, but you don't have to wait if you don't want to. And every time you walk into an area, it tells you like the level of the monsters and things like that. And I played it single player, obviously, but it's a co-op game, and it looks like it'd be a lot of fun co-op. There's a lot of fun RPG stats. Your weapon, because you have this like one mythical sword, and it gets better over time. But then you also find stickers which you can apply to your gear, and it gives you special bonuses and stuff like that. And the game is really lighthearted. They put a lot of focus on the comedic elements of the game, which I really appreciated. And overall, it was really nice. It was interesting on Steam because on the overall reviews, it had mixed reviews. But on the recent reviews, it was actually really, like, it's done really well. And it seems like when the game first launched, it had some lackluster reviews over, I guess, just a lack of features. And then the developers, met that call and said, okay, well, we're going to put more stuff into it. And now people really like it. And from what I played, I thought it was a joy. So that one was really cool. Then we played a game called Astray. And the best way that I could describe this game is it's kind of like Super Metroid, but you're the Metroid. That's not really a terrible description of it. You play as this parasite, and you're going through this colony on another planet where something has gone badly wrong. And the control scheme is really cool because you can move around and jump a little bit, but you have you can like spring like to different walls and stuff, and you can stick to ceilings and walls. And it's just a really different and very fun way of traversing the landscape. I really, really enjoyed it. It's one of those things that it's very easy to pick up, and then you definitely get a feel of like, if you were to continue to play it and get better and better, you could probably... a speed run would be very interesting to watch of that game. And then also at some point you get the ability to basically become like a head crab, where you can latch onto the heads of these zombies and read their thoughts and find out who they were in the facility and what they're thinking about. And it's such a cool way of doing it because you're basically getting lore if you want it. Like, the game doesn't hit you over the head with all of this extra information. If you just want to kind of get the base story, just play the game. But when you're doing the puzzles and you got to be on people's heads anyway, you can tap a button and suddenly you're getting all this extra lore. It's just really cool. I found it fascinating. It was super dark. It didn't feel like a horror game to me, but it was just real. Like the tone of everything was very dark. A game that I would love to return to at some point because it was just fascinating. And then finally, we ended off with Dreams for the PlayStation 4. And that was a game that, when it came out a few months ago, it got a lot of press, and it caught my eye, and I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. I requested a dev key, and I got one, and we got a chance to play it tonight. And I got to tell you, just being brutally honest here, the tools in Dreams to make a game are incredible and incredibly frustrating. Like, there are so many things that you can do, and it's fascinating. But you have to ask yourself at some point, why are you doing this in Dreams? Like, if you really want to make a game, it might be better to just spend the time, like, instead of like forcing yourself into Dreams and learning Dreams, into something that's a little more accessible and known, like Unity. Because Dreams is probably just as complex. And at some point, it's like, maybe that's what you should be doing. Now, and I said this in the first 20, maybe it would be a really good spot for like a younger person, a kid or something, to, just kind of get started in some game programming. Maybe, but the amount of stuff that you can do in it is wild. Now, once you're not looking at the creation part and you're looking at the playing part, it's fascinating. There are so many levels out there. And one of the things that hit me when I was doing the first 20 is that it really reminded me of early era Xbox Live Arcade. When Xbox 360 had opened up and indie developers were able to submit their games, and their games weren't like super good, but there was definitely something there, and they were charging 99 cents, and the store was just flooded with it. That's what Dreams felt like. Certainly some of the games were more polished than others, but on the whole, none of them were like, they're not AAA experiences, of course. And it was really neat. I enjoyed it far more than I thought I would, and I decided that at some point in the future we'll probably come back and do like a stream of just playing through stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was highly rated that was really enjoyable. It was incredible to see what people had made. I mean, especially after I'd had a little bit of the crash course of the creating side and just seeing how difficult it was to just maneuver in the world. I was like, dear God, this is so hard. To see that people then took that and made these amazing things it's pretty awe-inspiring. But yeah, at some point in the future, we'll probably come back and play a little of that together. One of the things I had done before the stream was over is I was just like, I'm curious. So I searched for Earthbound, and someone had recreated to scale Ness's house. So you could wander around Ness's house in first person and get to see what it would look like if Earthbound were remade, as a 3D game. It was really cool. Like, I'm walking around and I'm looking at everything and like, this is really neat. And there wasn't a whole lot to it, obviously, but they had like the sound effects and the music and stuff in there, so it was a cool experience. Anyway, those are 5 games that I played today. And thanks again to Jam. Jam sent in 3 of those games. And thank you to PlayStation for sending a copy of Dreams over. I was aiming to do 4 videos and we did 5, but that helps. It makes it just a little bit longer before I have to record more, which is wonderful. And that also means, as of right now, everything in May is taken care of from a Stephen Plays perspective. Things aren't scheduled, so that's a whole thing. But we're on a good path right now. I suspected, as we were finishing up April, that May would be a little bit lighter on work for me, and it is. And I mean, a lot of it has to do with the fact that, the series that are coming out this month, Arise, and then later on this month, Yoshi's Island, I mean, they're already done, and that's great. There's a lot of people on YouTube that haven't seen those yet because they debuted on Twitch, and there's probably a few people that saw it on Twitch that would like to watch it again now that it's been edited down, but that really takes the burden off of me and allows me to, breathe a little bit more, and then also work on other things. Anyway, if you hung out with me tonight, I appreciate it. Thank you for being there. And we'll do another First 20 stream next month, I guess. Based on how far we got, I guess it'll probably be like near the end of June. But that's fine. We can do that. Look at this little bumpkin. He's a cutie. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?